Most of us think of Sashiko as a type of visible mending that we discovered via Instagram or Pinterest. But what actually is Sashiko, and how should we engage with it? Is it an art form to be revered and put on display? A common household practice born out of necessity, used for survival? Is it a form of meditation? Or some lovely hand-stitching patterns that we can emulate to fix and customise our jeans? Well, it turns out it's kind of all of these things. My guest for this episode, Atsushi Futatsuya, is a Sashiko practitioner and storyteller who has just written a book called Sashiko, the Untold Story. Atsushi agreed to talk to me to help fill in the blanks in our knowledge about this fascinating and multi-layered practice. Stick around a couple of minutes for that. Welcome to Check Your Thread, the podcast that will help you sew more sustainably. My name's Zoe and I'm obsessed with sewing. I've been blogging about it for over 18 years and I'm the creator and host of the popular Handmade Wardrobe Challenge, Me Made May, which is still going on. But, like many people, I've become increasingly concerned about the climate and ecological crises, and I'm looking at the way that my lifestyle contributes to them. So in this podcast, I'll be nerding out about making clothes whilst exploring how to minimise the negative impact that it may have. I really hope you'll join me in this journey. Hi, lovely listener. Thank you for pressing play on this episode. How are you doing today? Thankfully, whatever it is in nature that hates me so much is on the wane, and my hay fever is starting to calm down. So, a little update on last week's episode with Carolyn, the founder of D-Stasher. As I said in the intro to the episode, I signed up to D-Stasher and listed a length of fabric so I would have some first-hand experience of using the platform that I was effectively helping to promote. Anyway, in less than a week, my piece of fabric was sold. It works. I'm off to pop it in the post today and then list a couple of other pieces that haven't sold on Vinted. Exciting stuff. This week, I have the great pleasure of thanking three awesome listeners, Caroline, Jay and Michelle, who all stepped up to support the podcast via Patreon over the last 7 days. Much appreciated, lovelies. If you'd like to be part of the awesome collection of people who help make it possible for this podcast to keep appearing in your podcast app every week, please consider signing up. You can do so for any amount that makes sense to you. Just head to patreon.com/checkyourthread. Signing up takes less than 2 minutes. And there are 2 social sew together sessions that take place via Zoom that are scheduled now. So the details are on the Check Your Thread Patreon feed. So if you're a patron, you are very welcome to come and hang out and sew in community. Right, onwards to the episode. So I have a section of my Trello organisation app that's for Check Your Thread planning. In there, I have a list of episode ideas, and to be honest, Sashiko has been at the top of that list for almost as long as I've been making this podcast. But honestly, as you'll hear, I've been a bit nervous to approach it for fear of being culturally insensitive and putting my foot in it. Anyway, I'm very grateful to Atsushi for coming on the podcast so that we can have a really good, thorough chat about Sashiko within its cultural and historical context. Not only is he really thoughtful and intelligent, he's also a lot of fun, so I know you're going to enjoy this illuminating conversation. So until next week, when we have another awesome recording from lovely guest host Kat Camfield, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and take care of those in need who deserve our help. Continue to sort out your stash and consider selling or donating what you're not going to use. And enjoy! Have you done a podcast before?
I believe so. I don't remember if it was a podcast or not, but we have done those recordings.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today, and huge congratulations on your new book. We will, of course, be talking about your book shortly, but first, could you please tell us who you are, where you are, and what fills your days?
Yes, hello, and thank you so much for having me here. My name is Atsushi Futatsuya, and I live in the United States in Pennsylvania, and out of nowhere. It's not like Phillies or Pittsburgh.
Just nowhere.
No, it's out of nowhere. And I am the Sashiko practitioner. I call myself as a Sashiko practitioner and storyteller. And I pretty much do Sashiko every day. And I will try to manage the Sashiko business so that I can preserve the sustainability of materials and also supplies.
So presumably each day looks a little bit different for you.
Well, my main job is probably a stay-at-home dad. So I gotta clean things and, make sure that everybody's happy in the family.
Yeah, I do know. So I've been wanting to make an episode on Sashiko for this podcast for so long, but honestly, as a Western person with very little knowledge or experience of the craft and its history, I've kind of steered clear because I didn't feel qualified to talk about it. But then I learned about you and your work through Gina and Mary because you wrote an excellent piece for their book, Stitch It, Don't Ditch It. And I thought, finally, somebody I can talk to about Sashiko without putting my foot in it or being culturally insensitive. So thank you. I'm very grateful to Gina for putting us in touch, and obviously very grateful to you for agreeing to talk to me. Both Gina and Mary were really excited that I'm going to be talking to you, and so I asked them as well what they would like to hear you talk about. So I'm going to be peppering our conversation with some questions from them also.
Sure.
But let's start with the basics. Like, what is your definition of Sashiko? Because I think a lot of people listening to this podcast, they might have in their minds like images of stitching that they've seen, but not really much of an idea beyond that.
Yes, and it is very difficult to define Sashiko, and that's actually the reason I wrote the book. But it's kind of easy to define the word Sashiko just for the purpose of defining it, but it's going to leave a lot of people, a lot of things important behind.
Right.
So it's not complex definition, but by defining something so simple, we will exclude somebody very important. So analogy I often use is that can we really define pizza without creating any recipe? So it's like the same thing. Like if you define the pizza with cheese specific, let's say cheddar cheese with pineapple, and everything else is the wrong pizza, somebody will be unhappy, right?
I'd be unhappy if that was my pizza.
So the same thing is happening. There's so many Western people, or even Japanese people, who is defining what Sashiko is so easily. But the story I carried were kind of hidden or even in the secret box for a long time. As the result, it's not told or it's not shared. Mm-hmm. So, but at the same time, I understand that it's very, very important to define the word. So when I define the word Sashiko, I say that it's a form of hand stitching developed in Japan. And that's the only definition I use. And everything else is more like a preference or style. It's not really the definition. Does it? I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. So can you tell us about your own personal and your family connection and relationship with Sashiko? And like, what role does it play in your life?
Yes. I was born in the Sashiko family as the third generation. When I mean that third generation is that my grandmother established a company to make living out of doing Sashiko, including selling the supplies, also doing Sashiko as well. And Sashiko was actually like a very much the ordinary daily practice for the Japanese people for the survival. And because Japanese people got wealthier before and after World War II, many decided to discontinue Sashiko. They stopped stitching. And my grandmother is one of those who revived those Sashiko, and she found that beauty and also the powerful influence to the community, and she made a business out of it. And she tried to pass it down to the next generation as a family tradition and also, in a different word, family property. She tried to own Sashiko, and I did not like that idea. But I was born there, so it's like I consider it as a fate right now. But I used to hate it, of course, because, you don't want to live the life when somebody defined for you. So.
Sure. Were there some like teenage years or something where you were like, no part of this and you came back round to it? Or?
That's why I can speak English. I hate it so much that I decided to leave Japan behind.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of like it's a on and off relationship. It's kind of, unseparable relationship. It's like,
I understand, yeah.
So I think that's my relationship with Sashiko. So I didn't choose. And
Sashiko chose you.
That's why it's kind of really privileged too, though, because without being born in such a unique environment, I wouldn't be talking about it so strongly.
So are there other members of your family still practicing Sashiko?
Yes, my father is gone. My father passed away 14 years ago, so he's not doing anything at this moment. But my mother is still in Japan doing Sashiko, and my grandma is actually doing the Sashiko business still.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
wow.
there's a family feud, like a little
Oh,
dispute, like this kind of nasty things when they have little money. So we are not related to the family business per se, but we are doing the sashiko, not together, but in the same time.
yeah. Oh, interesting. Is that something that you're passing on to your child?
Well, I hope she finded something out of it, but I do not want to force her to do that because I was forced to do it.
Right.
And so she sees me stitching pretty much every day, so I hope that she finded something. But I don't wanna. I don't expect anything.
Sure.
I don't want to get disappointed. So yeah, I don't know.
Oh, so do you have examples around your house, like visible?
Yeah, sure, everywhere.
Okay. Can't avoid it.
Yeah, like I have everywhere.
So, congratulations on your new book. You've written a book called Sashiko, The Untold Story. So, that's going to be published in the UK on the 14th of May and in the US on the 19th of May. So, when this episode comes out, people should be able to order it. So, as you mentioned in the introduction to your book, you were first offered a book deal to write like a how-to book on Sashiko, like about 7 years ago. And there have been other similar offers since. But this book is not a how-to book, is it?
No, it's not. It's really not a how-to book.
So can you tell us about what readers can expect from this book? And Mary Morton would also love to know how the offer to write this very different kind of book came about.
So there are many Sashiko how-to book written in English, and I often feel a little frustrated how easily they define answers throughout the instructions alone and without deeper meaning for that. This book is more like an invitation for the readers to truly realize what Sashiko can be. It's not a definition or rules to ask them to follow to enjoy Sashiko, but it's more like opening for them to like embrace Sashiko if they wish to go that direction.
Fantastic. So what can people see in your book? 'Cause it's very beautiful. It's got some gorgeous illustrations and some gorgeous photography as well. But what else can people just find in there?
I explained the history of our Sashiko that my grandmother revived. Also, there's quite many stories to form what Sashiko is. I mentioned that Sashiko is a form of hand stitching developed in Japan, but from technical perspective, there's no difference from other hand stitchery. Ancestors were doing pretty much the same thing, probably, but
Yeah.
we just don't have the name for that. But what makes Sashiko different is the stories behind it, also the philosophies or culture behind it. So I tried my best to pack all of the stories that makes Sashiko as Sashiko. A lot of things are misinterpreted or simplified. Wikipedia is not always right answer, so I am kind of challenging to reframe, re-illustrate what Sashiko is.
So how did the offer for writing this kind of, very much not a how-to book?
Yes.
How did that offer come about?
Well, I kind of was giving up. I was giving up on this project because who would like to get a book saying that there's no rules or answers if they want to get a how-to book, right? So every time I received the offer on writing how-to book, they asked me to define the correct answer, preferably in one sentence or at least one paragraph. And I kept saying I don't want to do that because that's going to ruin my whole story. So I started my own platform on the Patreon where I share the stories as often as possible. Right now it has like more than 200 stories. And I tried to kind of publish myself if that was the case. One day, the Jenna, the author for the Stitch and Ditch It, Don't Ditch It,
Yeah.
she asked me to write a contribution to her book. And I wrote that, and the editor found out my contribution was interesting, I hope. And then she reached out to me if I was interested in writing that. And I told her that I am not going to write any how-to book as my first book, and if that is okay, I am willing. And, she told me that I could write whatever I want. So,
Oh, wow.
yep, that was a scary thing.
That's quite a brief, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, right, whatever.
Seriously, like, whatever, okay, fine. Then, you come me in.
So you already had collated quite a lot of stories that I guess you were then able to incorporate to your book. But how long did the writing process take from when that initial offer arrived?
Yes, I do have already a lot of writing, but it's not really saved as the book. So I
Sure.
was wondering what would be the best, table of contents and stuff like that. But actual writing took about 6 days. I
What?
did not sleep at all for that 6 days.
That's wild. 6
I
days,
know.
my
I
goodness.
cannot believe that I did it. My wife was so worried about it that I did not move at all in front of the computer.
Wow. Did you eat? Did you sleep?
I believe I did, but
You don't remember.
I just probably it was hyper. English is my second language. So once I kind of lose the connection, I probably couldn't keep going.
Right, okay.
And I mean, there was so much edit after that. So I'm not saying like I wrote this book
Sure, it
in
wasn't a done
6,
thing.
but it's more like a summary of 7 years, and I did that process in that 6 days.
That must have felt amazing to have it like it was all there. It was ready to just spill out and you were like, let's go. And it just flooded out.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. Like when editor told me how much of the writing I would need, like let's say like I think she mentioned like 27,000 word or something. I got shocked because I have never read the book more than 100 pages by myself in English. So like
That's a lot of words, isn't it?
yeah, but I ended up with writing probably double of that,
Oh, wow,
and I
really?
had to kind of condense it. At the same time, I had a very difficult favor or even request for the editor's team that I would like to write this book as if I am writing the Japanese text or contents, which means that in the Japanese language, we try to kind of ask the reader to between lines. We
Oh.
do not put the verb until the end of the sentence, so we don't know if it's like a denial or confirming sentence until the last. So it's kind of difficult to do that, but at the same time, I did not want to make it as like a translation book because now AI can do that. So this is more like the English book that Japanese wrote instead of
Oh,
some
interesting.
book that interpreted translated by some other books.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna reread some of it and and see if I can pick up on that. That's really fascinating. So what was the reaction when you made that request?
I mean, it's between me and proofreader probably. So I had to compromise because I did not want to publish anything wrong in terms of English. I did not want to make the publisher in trouble, so I followed some of the advice, and they compromised too. So I really appreciate them trying to understand what I'm trying to do.
Oh, wow. What an amazing opportunity, an amazing kind of collaboration in that sense then.
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody can catch that though. But I say that in the first book, so in the first page of the book. So I hope that it will help.
So now you have written Sashiko, the Untold Story, and you've framed Sashiko in the cultural and historical context. Would you go on to write a how-to book?
Yes, I would if there's opportunity. But I just a little bit scared. Not as scared. I'm a little bit anxious if how to book is something that what the readers are expecting because how to cook pizza is kind of ugh. How to cook mac and cheese? How to like? Why don't you just cook it, right? Why don't you just make it? Just put, so Sashiko is that simple to me. So it's gonna be more like a project book probably.
Right,
But I have to
nice.
probably interpret Sashiko in a different way to meet the demand of the Sashiko trend right now. But after this book, I am willing to do that too.
Right. Is there an offer on the table, or that's just something that you're kind of just mulling over in your head at the moment?
I'm not thinking anything. To be honest, I don't want to write another
Okay.
book because of the so much. It wasn't easy. It was not easy. So,
So we're not encouraging the offers here.
well, I
But if
mean,
a really
I would
good one
love to
came
do that.
along.
I would love to do that, but it's like selling our jacket or Sashiko items. We would like to sell it, but we don't want to sell it because we don't want to make it again. That's kind of like I want to write it, but I do not want to go through that process again.
You want it written, but you don't want to write it.
I would need somebody else. Like I have to duplicate me to do that, but it's not gonna happen. So
So, of course, as you acknowledged in your book, so Sashiko and Boro have become trendy for their beautiful aesthetics. And in terms of kind of Instagram culture, they're kind of regarded as subcategories of kind of visible mending, aren't they?
Mhm.
So, which of course strips them of the cultural and historical context and kind of reduces them merely to like a look. So, Gina Wigger wanted me to ask you, like, what questions do you wish people who are interested in learning about Sashiko would ask?
That's a very good question as well, because many people ask me the question and I do not probably give them the answers they are looking for. And that happens because of the cultural difference. Especially if they're mindful, if they're respectful, they are asking the question, and I really appreciate it. But I would say that I probably didn't have a space in this book to write about it, but there are two cultures between the Western and Japanese, and one is that ask culture versus guess culture. Have you ever heard of that word?
Oh, no, say more.
So ask culture is the culture to ask the questions because asking the question is the sign of interest, showing the interest, respect. Also, you know, you ask questions because you're interested, you're committed to learn. In Japan, as long as I know, asking is kind of rude at some point because it's taking
Okay.
somebody's time. So you have to kind of guess first what they're saying. Of course, it's not wrong to ask the questions, but that asking process has to be kind of careful or slow instead of just asking what's up and what is Sashiko. They would probably spend more time in researching, reading, and then if they couldn't find anything, then they might ask the question. But because I grew up in a guest culture, I want them to kind of guess first what it is, and then we can kind of go deeper. But
Oh, that's so
so
interesting.
that's why it was so difficult. I didn't do a good job in the university because I couldn't ask the question that easily to the professors. But professors ask us to ask questions. So yeah, that's the big difference between the culture, and because of that, I don't have any questions that I expect others to ask me.
What would you like them to research then? How would you like them to proceed?
I just want them to enjoy it. I mean, so enjoy stitching. We're
Okay.
not talking, right? We're just stitching. So
Okay, so here's something I'd like your thoughts on. So, when I was writing my own book about mending,
mhm.
which came out in 2021, my publishers wanted to include Sashiko in it. Probably because, as we were saying, it was becoming trendy and it was mentioned on Instagram and stuff. But I was very aware that I had no clue about the true cultural meaning behind it and the significance of it. So I didn't feel at all comfortable in writing about how to do Sashiko stitching. But they wanted me to include it. So the way that I proceeded was to include a section on what I referred to as Sashiko style stitching. So, does it make you feel uncomfortable when you see teachers or writers claiming to teach Sashiko when they have like no connection to Japan and clearly haven't studied, the background of Sashiko or studied under somebody of Japanese origin? Or like, do you think I should have avoided including any reference to Sashiko in my book at all? You can say yes, that's fine because it's already published, but I was wondering.
No. My quick answer is no. It does not make me feel uncomfortable. It's not really
Okay.
offensive to me. And this probably is going to link to the topic about cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And I wrote about it briefly in my book too, but I kind of summarized into one sentence, which might help many people. But about cultural appropriation in any topics, as much as I respect those people who speak about it, my conclusion is that if you are worried about cultural appropriation, don't worry about it too much. If you're not worried about cultural appropriation, please do worry about it. So
Okay.
that's really short, but if you think that learning Japanese culture to practice sashiko is nonsense, then I want them to understand what sashiko is. But if they are trying their best to learn what sashiko is, regardless of the level of their understanding, I think it's good. It's the way to share the culture. You mentioned about teaching and writing, and I believe that there are two kinds of teaching. One is like a guiding, like a elementary school teacher. They are the great guide for the kids to explore their futures. They're not really the professor of any one specific field, but they are very good at guiding various topics around. And I believe that those who refer me or who are very careful to approach this practice Sashiko are more like the guide. Like you're the guide too. You probably mentioned about Sashiko in the book, and you didn't claim that you're the professional Sashiko. So you're just simply guiding others to reach out to us who claim that Sashiko as the profession. So not only that I feel comfortable, I really appreciate those people to do that. And another side of the teaching is the professionals, I kept saying. So that professional teaching comes with a huge responsibility. By them defining the one thing, it could change the culture or even the practice itself. So when they claim themselves as the master or comprehensive or professionals in Sashiko, then I ask them to be very mindful and probably huge commitment, including the ability to speak Japanese so that they can talk to the Japanese people in Japanese in Japan. Without that, they might be simplifying. Without the language, we don't know that
Right.
if it's true or not. So as long as you are, or the other, this people listening to this right now are, guiding, I am very happy that they teach, publish, write, speak about Sashiko to their audiences or to their followers. But if they are trying to be professional, then I would really ask them to be more like commitment or mindfulness to the responsibility of what they're doing. I mean, if you don't want to take the math major under the professor who cannot do calculus, what is the math without the calculus? I don't know. It's not a math. So that's kind of what I feel about the approach to the cultural appropriation.
Right. So, what are your thoughts on people with no connection, like myself, with no connection to Japan, haven't studied under somebody of Japanese origin, using the word sashiko or as opposed to sashiko style? Does that make any
No,
difference to you?
no.
No.
I sometimes feel that though inspired is a kind of tricky word. Many people use the word inspired, Sashiko, Sashiko style, Sashiko.
Okay.
My question would be like, what are you inspired actually from? So it is okay. I mean, I have no problem with people using the word inspired with style, but I don't want those words to be like the silver bullet or like all the answers to all the issues. So by saying that, if they think anything is okay by just saying that, that's probably not okay too.
Okay. So using inspired or style as a kind of, I don't know, yeah, like a get out clause for actually.
Yeah, like like perfect medicine to kill every disease. So we there might be something like that in our world right now, but the inspired people say that I'm doing okay because I said this is Sashiko inspired. But I would like to go deeper into that discussion if they actually know what they're inspired from. So if they're gonna say that, why don't they just say Sashiko, period?
Yeah. Particularly as what you were saying, like the definition, if one were to define it, is so broad, and there is not one look, there's not one stitching style. It's something that has looked and does look different across Japan. So to say you're inspired, like, well, yeah, like, what are you inspired by? You're inspired by something you saw on Instagram. You're inspired by something you saw on Pinterest. You're inspired by like a book you saw. Like, yeah, like what is it? I wonder if they could answer.
Yeah, if they can kind of go deeper or go more specific, that would be more making sense. Another analogy, like the same, go back to the same analogy, but if one makes the kind of bread saying it's the US pizza inspired, then people have to ask, like, is it the Chicago pizza or New York style? Like, which style are you inspired by?
Yeah,
But
yeah. Which region of Japan, like, yeah, are
so
you
which
inspired
which
by?
Sashiko are you inspired by? Then probably it's gonna make sense. But in order to say that which Sashiko inspired, they have to kind of learn. They have to reference the upstream, and that process itself is already a big appreciation to Sashiko. So I think they can call their stitching Sashiko too. They don't have to say it's
Okay.
inspired.
Interesting. That's cool. Thank you. So, Ian, who is Gina's husband, he has asked if you can speak about gender roles in Sashiko, because you're saying it was something that was practiced by both your father and your mother. Your grandmother and yourself.
Yeah, historically, Sashiko was mainly done by women, and even 10 years ago, until 10 years ago, like majority of the practitioners were women. So it's like a house chore, like washing the
Right.
dishes, doing the laundries. That was more like women's responsibility back in those old days. And my family is a little bit tricky in this because she revived something so ordinary to something business which makes money. That requires a little bit of psychopathic ideas, I think. You
Right.
if you're gonna make like a big business out of doing the dishwashing, that requires a lot of guts to do that. And if
It
they
really
wanna
does, yeah.
own that culture to their family, even though that culture is gone, it requires a lot of something that I can now describe. That I wouldn't do that from the beginning.
Right.
So our family is so unique because of that business style. They wanted to pass it down to the one thread, which means the first-born male child, and that made me as the male person to be the next heir. But still, I was very much a very small percent of the stature as the male or man. And recently, there are quite many male person jumping into this practice because of the fashion style.
Okay.
But it is pretty much women's work.
Right. So in Japan today,
Mhm.
is it generally a skill that is passed down to a child or to a family member when they're younger,
I can tell
or their
only
classes?
from the stories I heard, but it's more like yeah, grandma stitching granddaughter watching her stitch, and then kind of learning by words, not like by teaching. So we don't
Right.
teach each other; we just learn by looking at it. Like,
Okay.
like same as learning the tomato sauce from the grandmother who's cooking when you visit her. So there's no recipes, there's no specific rules. I mean, she might help you to do that, but it's not like there's a like strict teaching style. I do teach Sashiko so that everybody can, get to that certain level or certain preparation. But that's more like my development. I was not taught this way. My family did not teach me Sashiko the way I'm teaching right now.
Right. Yeah. Because the people presumably that you're teaching, they didn't have the grandmothers that they were watching
Yeah.
every time they went to visit them.
So if I can ask them to study with me for 10 years, then that's a different
Yeah.
story. But
You can be their grandmother.
yeah, but it's gonna be like only 6 hours top, and that has to be somewhat entertaining, not suffering. I don't want anybody to suffer. So, well, some people suffer from my workshop because of the expectation, but that's it. I wanted to make it as entertaining as possible, and that's the way to pass down the culture right now. So.
Yeah. Okay, so there's many beautiful examples of sashiko stitching photographed in your book, and they look so intricate and involved, and they clearly like many hours have gone into a lot of the pieces. So it's clearly an art form, and I know that many people like display it as such. Yet, as you were talking about in your book, like sashiko was born from necessity and survival, which is very different to how it's perceived today as an art practice. So can you talk about the role of sashiko as a form of resilience, and then how it's gradually evolved into being perceived as an art form?
Yes, and that's another good question. I think it's happening everywhere in every culture. But today, very few people, or even none of us, practice sashiko truly out of necessity. So
Yeah.
actually, I wonder, like we choose to do sashiko, and because of that choice, we kind of add our self expression in it instead of just doing for the family or doing for the purpose of doing. And so to me, Sashiko became the art because of that purpose of self-expression. And before that, it was the stitchery for the survival. Now it's the stitchery to illustrate or frame our own identity as the artist. So for that, it is natural to see the change to be art. But at the same time, for me, I have kind of both sides for that matter. I have observed both. So for me, the Sashiko is still not art.
Right.
And the problem, not a problem, the things happening, again, this is not only Sashiko, but that change itself is fine, but it becomes kind of sad when we lose the context in between.
Yeah, it has a real parallel, doesn't it, with like making clothes from scratch, whether that's sewn or knitted or crocheted. Like it was something that people had to
Mhm.
do to make clothes because ready-made clothes were so expensive, and now it's flipped,
Yeah,
and buying good quality materials to make your own clothes is more expensive than going to H&M or whatever kind of shop. So it's kind of, I guess it's got that, we're choosing to make our own clothes, we're choosing to put our personality and our stamp and all those choices that you have to make for those things to come into existence. The same with Sashiko, like you have to choose your stitch, you have to, you have to be so mindful of every aspect for it to exist, whereas before it was something maybe let's just get this done because we've got a lot of work to do and this is how we keep our family
mhm.
clothed.
So it is happening to a lot of things. It's flipped, as you said. The value is flipped, and also the process is flipped. I see sometimes people damaging their denim to make borrow.
Oh
That is
really?
like a same analogy of I use often, that you want to take the painkiller, like headache painkiller. For that purpose, you do not sleep. That's kind of, messed up. You might want to take care of your health first, yet you need a medication later on. But if you try to damage your health to get the medication, that's a little bit of flipped.
Sure.
And it's happening everywhere. Like, old fabric is better than the new fabric for some reason because it lasts longer. Old houses are well built than the new houses, and getting the old house may last longer than getting a new house. So Sashiko is doing the same thing. But again, this is the change, and I appreciate it, and I enjoy that. Just I want this change to be mindful and involve as much context as possible.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, to not lose those stories and not lose that history.
Yeah, because that's what makes it unique and different.
So Gina also noted that you wrote how in the 1960s Sashiko saw a modern resurgence to bring it into professional realm. That sounds like something that your grandmother
Mhm.
was party to, yeah. And during the same time period, mending in Western Europe and the US became popular in kind of countercultural movements, so like the anti-war and anti-consumption movements. So, how, if at all, do you think that these parallel changes to how people, or how some people interacted with their garments to make them last, might have been related? Like, do you think one was influencing the other, or is it more, coincidental given the broader global economic and social changes happening at the time?
I think it was the coincidence. It's really, really the coincidence that it happened. The difference between Japan and the US in the 1960s is that the Japanese people were experiencing a huge economic growth after World
Right.
War II. Once our economy got completely destroyed after the war, we experienced high steep of the economic growth. And in that steep change, they found something beautiful in nostalgia, like
Right.
thinking back again. So, but at the same time, 1960s in the US, it was more like a challenge to the authorities or challenge to the. It's a little bit higher in terms of the Maslow's hierarchy.
Sure.
It's more like we have enough money, we have enough lives. That's why let's care for something else. So the Japanese were a little lower for that hierarchy. We needed to make money. So they were looking for the way to make our lives better. Same as my grandmother and a few others who were so strong enough to revive it. But it was probably coincidence. I am not really, the one who can talk about it, but I believe that it was coincidence.
That's really interesting. That is so true. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because yeah, after the Second World War, yeah, like the economy of the US was more abundant already and was more robust at that point. So yeah, so then there were those people that were there wasn't this this scramble for many people to survive and to have their basic needs met. It then was a case of looking around and having the opportunity and the headspace to be like, okay, this isn't working for me emotionally, or but then some people be like, let's talk about this, let's kind of explore this. That's really interesting. And then mending being adopted as a choice is what we were saying, rather than through necessity.
Yeah. I believe though that today's change is very, very much global. It's not because it's happening because of the same reason. We're trying to go back to kind of primitive life.
Right.
I don't know why, but we achieved so much and we're trying to go back.
Yeah. Probably because we're not happy, because our phones are always buzzing.
Sorry.
It's fine.
See, now we're talking about the primitive life, and now phone is teaching me what to do.
I know, and just like
Sorry
about 2 minutes ago, my phone went off to tell me to go and collect my son, but I'm not collecting him today. So
Yes.
I had the same intrusion, so I apologise.
Same here. We're trying to slow down, yet we cannot slow down so easily.
Exactly. So, but talking of like kind of slowing down and creating balance, Gina was also interested in like how you balance stitching between your personal and your professional work, because obviously you were saying that you stitch every day. Some of those projects, passion projects for yourself, as opposed to examples for an exhibition or for a class you're about to teach or something.
Yes, and that's another great question. I've been thinking about it since I received that note. But I probably do not consider Sashiko as a profession. So it's really not the work for me.
Right.
And my family thinks that I'm a workaholic because I either doing the computer work or admin work or, stitching. For me, stitching is more like the personal time.
Right.
And doing the admin work or emailing or talking to or even writing a book is more like a work time. So as long as I have time to stitch, I think I can balance that. And last year was a year that I could not have the time for stitching, and as a result, I was kind of not feeling happy about it. So
it impacted your mental health, not being able to stitch as much as you wished.
Surprisingly, yes. I never thought that I would be feeling like that, but I think addicted to that.
Right.
It's like, going through a day without a coffee. It's like something is off. Something's not right. I'm doing, but something's not.
Yeah, I'm moving, but it's not good.
But at the same time, it is important for me to keep speaking up and keep selling the supplies of tools that I would like to preserve, because otherwise they are going to easily abandon their traditions. They're too small to keep making those supplies and tools. I want to make sure that I can provide the same thing even 10, 20 years from now. So my work is for that, and I kind of balance myself for the stitching. And I don't do anything else outside of that besides my, house chore. So, yeah, I might be a boring person for that. I don't watch movies much, or, so no personal time for that, I guess.
Yeah, we've got to make some choices. I'm the same. I do very little watching TV and or watching films at the moment. I'd rather, if I've got a little patch of time, I'd rather do some sewing and push my projects along a little bit.
That's what I do. In ideal world, though, if one like myself can make a living out of just doing sashiko, that might be the best thing, because if that happens, it means that sashiko will be preserved no matter what. Right now, I don't know anybody who is making their living, like make ends meet by just doing sashiko. We have to teach, publish, write, sell online. We used to have those people who made a living by just doing sashiko, and if that dream come true, then, I don't have to worry about it too much, about balancing too. But my job is to make that stage for the future sashiko artists that they can just focus on stitching.
Do you ever get commissions for Sashiko?
I used to, but the expectations are a little different. I once did it, and then the clients asked me to make uneven stitches a little more. Like he
really?
wanted to have a little bit more. Like it was too even that he thought it was not.
Oh.
I mean, it was not a complaint, I guess, but at the same time, I cannot make stitches uneven. It's just happened to be even, so it's gonna destroy my balance.
Oh, they wanted it to look like more handmade or something.
Well, in that case, I'm not. Like
You're too good.
Yeah, I'm not too good. I just like when you ask to run, would you skip? That's exactly what I'm being asked. You ask me to run, and then you asking me to skip. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna skip and do the same, speed. But yeah, I used to do the commission, but not anymore.
It'd be like deliberately making your pizza not round if you were very good at making round pizzas.
Yeah, like can you make uneven shape? Probably it's easier for them to make a round shape. Yeah, exactly. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So as well as a writer, you also, as you were saying, you teach Sashiko workshops both online and in person. So can you tell me about any of the cool or interesting experiences that Sashiko has allowed you to have?
Yes. So I teach Sashiko not the way you probably imagine. So I don't teach the techniques much. Well, of course, they will be able to do Sashiko the way we do, but it's probably outside of the Western people's usual expectation. And it is quite challenging, especially if you are experienced stitcher in the Western style. So they will suffer. They really suffer sometimes. Some people cry in my workshop.
Really? Explain.
Because you can probably make stitches so even by controlling the needle, right? I ask you to not to control the needle.
Oh.
So they know that they can control the needles and make a really, really good result.
So you're controlling the fabric?
No. We don't control anything.
What are you controlling?
Nothing. That's the mindset that you think. Why don't the needle to make stitches? Imagine the onion in front of you. You have to make even slices for millions of people. Would you care each slices to be this thick? Do you mark it every time and slice it this slow? Imagine that you don't have a slicer. You probably cut like this, right? You don't purposefully move the onion to this side or one side, or you don't probably move the knife purposefully to make the even slices. You just do it as the rhythm.
Right.
So getting the rhythm is the key to enjoy Sashiko. We do that all the time. When you run, do you think that each step has to be 3 feet every time? You just run, right? You don't control anything. And we don't control the needle. I mean, we do hold the needle. It's not like a magic. So we do hold the needle in fabric, but the more we try to control, the more we worry about the perfection and imperfection. And I really don't like the word Sashiko is the stitchery for the imperfection, because by saying the imperfection, there's already the perfection somewhere. It's not that too dualism. It's just, it is yours. So
why are people crying? Because it's they're struggling to let go.
They're trying to let go, and the result doesn't good look for the first time.
Ah, okay.
So they know that they can control the needles, but they want to learn something. You're gonna probably, I don't want to say suffer, but you'll feel very uncomfortable for first 3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
Until your brain gives up, and the brain will give up at some point.
Wow. Okay, this is exciting. This is challenging. Yeah, this is probably not the class that a lot of people are expecting. You're gonna break your brain.
If it's okay, I would like to kind of talk about analogy too, but
please.
It's like the climbing a mountain.
Right.
We, as the Western mind, the goal is to go to the peak of the mountain, right? The goal is to look at the very beautiful view of the peak, of the mountain from the peak. There are many ways to go to the peak. Some may have a very experienced a climbing gear so they can walk on their foot, or somebody might have a helicopter to just drop off the peak. So there are many ways to go there, and then we try to get better by those vehicles to get there. And I have no problem with that. And sometimes probably you don't need even teacher to go to the up of the peak if you have like a bigger equipment or better tools or technologies. But what I teach is like a little tiny water spring right next to the entrance or in the middle of the mountain when you do the climbing. So that requires teachers or somebody experienced to find something beautiful, something meaningful, something tasty in the process to get to the peak. So peak is not the goal. Enjoying the process is the goal. And I want them to find the most delicious part of Sashiko while doing Sashiko.
Cool.
Does it make sense?
It does.
So many of my students do not really feel the satisfaction after stitching or completing the project. They feel sad because they have to find another one to restart.
Right. So presumably each student they're going to get a different sensation. Each of their experiences is going to be unique because what they're getting from it, what they find that they enjoy, what resonates with them is going to be very unique to each individual person.
So everybody get confused. Everybody have a look of what the heck is he talking about? But at the same time, in that suffering of few hours, their eyes start changing a little bit. Like, so this might be it, or like he might be actually not completely out of control. So that change is something that I really enjoy, and I think that's something we cannot do just by offering the recorded videos, tutorials.
Right. That works better in person.
Mm-hmm. Or even online is fine because I have like online one-on-one session. So in person, either virtual or in person, like physical. Everybody has different expectations, different hands, different, personalities. So
sure,
Sashiko can fit anybody.
So it's almost like you're teaching a mindset as opposed to skills.
I don't want to say that, but
I said it.
I don't want to make it too spiritual, too philosophical because it's
very... No, but I think you can own that. That's okay.
Yeah. So it has the Zen effect for that, yes. But also Zen is another word that we use so often that it became something else. So I wouldn't connect those easy words to explain what Sashiko is, but some people think that it's changed their life. So I'm happy for that.
That's amazing. The sense that you get, or the enjoyment that you get, that sensation that you get when you are in, let's say, flow state, for example, when you're doing Sashiko, is that a feeling or a state that you have experienced doing other activities?
I think similar thing is running. Like run is high is quite similar, I guess. Like you're running, but you're not feeling running. I think that's my experience. Like you don't suffer while running.
Oh, I do.
Oh, I mean, when you have like a run is high, if you run like more than 20 kilometers, like you get into the state that.
Yeah, I'm not running longer than 20 kilometers.
I used to.
I did a 10K recently.
I used to, not anymore. But run is high was probably the closest thing.
Interesting.
Well, driving probably for that matter. Something you do for a long time, and then the moment you lose the sense of control. I mean, you shouldn't lose the control while driving. I'm sorry.
No, I understand. I understand.
Bad
but when it's not conscious, let's say that.
It's something outside of our judgment or criticism that we always do to ourselves.
Right.
So outside of that, and it becomes like a little bit of addiction because of that. We need that moment of emptiness. But that emptiness is a key word. It's not an emptiness. It's just the too much thinking here. As the result, we don't focus.
So it's a form of meditation.
Meditation and mindfulness, including Zen, is toward the emptiness, right? Zen is all about empty your brain. Sashiko is completely the other side.
Okay.
Stuff your brain with everything that you don't focus on stitching.
Oh.
So the best time I can stitch is when I have a fight with my wife because my brain's somewhere else.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so interesting.
So, I'm doing completely the other side of the decluttering. I'm cluttering the thoughts. So, the one Japanese KonMari says that we have to declutter things. I'm saying, we have to clutter our brain so that we can kind of feel good about it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's fascinating. Have you, are there any particular students that have that come to mind that you remember, or their experiences, or any stories you've heard from them that have kind of epitomise why you do what you do, or have been an example of a struggle, or anything that you can tell us?
There are quite many sample photos in the book with the captions by who did it. But because I have to spend quite a lot of time on raising kid, like parenting, as well as doing admin job, some of these students, I don't want to call them students, but some people I came across are really, really good, like way better than me, and I feel a little jealous to them for that matter. But I'm proud of myself recreating those rising Sashiko artists, or artisans for that matter. A lot of Sashiko pieces they talk about in the book or lectures are from the past, from the history, either exhibited behind the glass or in the case. We can make that. We are making it right now in 2026. We have those people who can make it. So I'm really happy that they can do it, and those are the joy, or those are the people who I respect to and admire to.
Amazing, and you're part of their story.
Well, I'm like a past, yeah. Like they respect me first, and they kind of stood not a disrespecting, but they realized that it's not that big of a deal, and I like that. It's not that big of a deal.
That is the best way to end this amazing conversation.
Thank you.
I could talk to you forever. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for your time today. So if people want to find out more about your work and follow you, where can they find you?
My message can be summarized in one book, the book told Sashiko, The Untold Story. And also ongoing status, I have an Instagram as well as the website, which is the sashikostory.com or at sashikostory on the Instagram.
Fantastic. I'll put links to everything, including where the people can find your book and everything, in the show notes. So thank you again so much. It's been so fun.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and are left feeling inspired. For more info about the podcast, including show notes for this and every episode, head to checkyourthread.com. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have any comments, questions or ideas for future episodes, please get in touch by emailing zoe@checkyourthread.com or find me on Instagram @checkyourthread. Massive thanks to Patrick Potter for production support, to Sylvia Seller for the awesome logo design, and to Simon at Palm Skin Productions for the music. This ad-free podcast would not be possible without listener support, so if you feel you are able, please consider signing up to the Check Your Thread Patreon. For the equivalent of buying me a coffee each month, you'll be making it possible to continue producing regular episodes. Links can be found in the show notes and on the website checkyourthread.com. I hope you'll listen again next week. Until then, take care. Bye!